How do you feel less lonely, whether you are actually alone in a moment or you are around other people? And I am sure that many of you watching this now can attest to the fact that sometimes we, in fact, feel more lonely in the midst of other people than when we are alone. So I'll really look forward to hearing your comments and questions below. What we are looking at here is a very interesting time when this question comes up a lot, because clients of mine have been asking me, talking to me about what am I going to do for Christmas? I myself have to make these decisions. We all have to navigate this period in time. And what becomes very evident is that the experiences we might be having can be quite complex. Positive feelings, negative feelings, joyful feelings, difficult feelings, all at the same time. And what makes these feelings even more difficult to be with or to metabolize is their contrast to the dominant narrative, to the jingle bells and bright lights and fun Disney movies and expectations of what this time of year is supposed to be about. And for many of us, this time of year, because we are human, because we are real, because life is complex and multi-layered and multivaried, looks something different to the Disney TV movie cultural narrative of family connection and memories of childhood or whatever it is. Different cultures, different countries will have different versions of that. For us, sometimes it can be the Barbie at the beach. It's hot over here in Australia during this time. But there's still this expectation of a few things that seem to have come with our modern Western capitalist culture, all mixed in with our roots and our histories, that can make things quite difficult. The idea of gifts and money and what we're supposed to spend and the food we're supposed to make and the quality and the price of gifts and the amount of money we should spend. And some families work this out quite well, others not so well. Sometimes it might be more about whose house are we going to be at that people are navigating at the moment, depending on if you've got split families or you're in a relationship and there are different family groupings, and how do we split our time? Do we even want to go there? I have a lot of clients who might have come to a place in their life where they don't like drinking, and the family has a lot of alcohol present at Christmas, and this feels like a contrast to their values. So how does this all link back in to my beginning question about loneliness, about how do we feel less alone in our experiences, whether, say, for example, at Christmas time, we did decide to be alone, or we are around other people, but feeling very disconnected. There's a funny irony about connection. It is that the more connected we are internally, the more able, as adults, the more able we are to connect with others. The irony and the sadness is that in order to have developed that capacity to be more connected internally, we needed to have other brains, other beings, other bodies around us that could help us make sense of our experience. So when we feel that way, I am weird, I don't make sense, I'm different than everybody else, I should X, Y, Z, insert whatever judgment there that you might have heard a few times in your own head. We feel more isolated, we feel disconnected, we feel different, we feel separate. The sad thing is that part of why we feel the intensity of that sadness, isolation, and disconnection is because not only are we perhaps not feeling as connected to others or as connected to ourselves, but there's actually a hostile voice in there that's watching over and criticizing and making it even harder, which is amplifying that feeling that who I am, what I'm feeling and what I'm doing is not okay. There's something wrong and I don't make sense. So the way in which we can experience feeling less lonely is to have a stronger internal cohesion, a stronger internal sense of connection, of integration, of making sense. Having complex and contradictory feelings is a very normal part of being human. This is just part of the human journey. The more that you can come to know yourself, to know the different experiences, to understand them, that you have, to understand them, and to offer understanding to them. And these are two slightly different processes. The more we begin to be attuned to ourselves and others, the more nuanced we can become about what relating to ourselves and to others really is about, and how to have it be an experience that is richer, more fulfilling, and more meaningful, and hopefully feeling better. So one of my mentors, Sarah Payton, who is a neurobiological educator, I think that's how she says it, talks about this is a process of helping the brain learn to hold itself. And I make this symbol with my hands. I've made this many times before. I love it. It comes from Dan Siegel, who created neurobiology again, created the idea of relational neurobiology. What happens in the energy field of connection between human beings? And this represents the structure of our brain, the physiological structure of our brain, our emotional self, and our I don't know what you would call it, because it's still got emotions, none of this is as black and white as my filter is. It's a lot more complex and nuanced than I could possibly comprehend. But essentially, our friendly, rational brain that can make sense of information a little more easily and isn't as reactive, prefrontal cortex, wraps around the amygdala and the limbic system, the emotional system, and says, so this gesture I make is a representation of an internal conversation with myself that says, you make sense, who you are is okay, and what you're feeling is okay. And the minute that we begin to offer this to ourselves, there is an internal sense of accompaniment. The loneliness can dissipate, because loneliness is different than being alone. As I talked about at the beginning, even when we're in the company of other people, we can feel very lonely. So it's not necessarily about being around others. It's about this feeling of accompaniment, of being accompanied, of feeling a sense of I make sense. Now, we can't necessarily expect others to offer that to us. Hopefully when we were kids, we got that. Most of us didn't. So we're having to learn it now as adults, and other adults might not know how to do it. Those that do, beautiful experience. Those that don't, that is okay. And this is what you might be finding. You're questioning perhaps, who am I going to spend Christmas with? Am I going to spend it with my family? Am I going to have these repeated experiences that I've had from years before and the emotional fallout that I have to deal with? Now, we can navigate these questions, these decisions, and whatever we do choose to do, perhaps be alone or be with others, more effectively when there is a friendly sense of self-relating that supports us through that. So if we decide to be alone or we decide to be in the company of others, knowing that inside we are in the company of ourselves, this will make all the difference for having an experience of this time of year that, despite what is going on out there, the jingle bells and I was getting the jingle in my head, and the baubles and the bright lights and the weird disconnect of what's supposedly supposed to be happening and what we're actually experiencing. And that complexity of feelings can be okay, can make sense, can be accepted, and can be metabolized. And when we metabolize our experiences, they give us more energy. So we will be able to have more energy to show up for ourselves, for whatever it is that we have decided to do, during this time of year. And for most of us, there is some sense that we want to show up as a member of whatever community we are part of, and we want to be able to do it with a bit of loving energy. So, learning to accompany and hold your own brain can help you with this. I hope this has been helpful. As I said, I really enjoy receiving your loving comments and questions below, and ask me anything, share with me anything you like, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Thanks for your time and attention. Appreciate it.